Now that the era of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is over, both in the limelight and on this channel, it's time we start looking towards the future, and start looking for Mario Kart 9. Now, disclaimer, I don't actually know what the game is going to be called, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to be calling it 9 because that's the easiest thing to say. Now, we only have 15 seconds of footage for Mario Kart 9, so we really don't know a lot about this game, but I've wanted to make my retro predictions for a good while, so that's what we're doing here today. This video is going to function pretty similarly to my BCP remake I made back in the day, as we're not just going to be picking courses at random here. There are going to be a specific set of rules that we use, because I want to try to keep things at least kind of realistic. Although the rules here are a little bit more complex, and they also dictate not only the courses I allowed myself to use, but how I prioritized them as well. Hopping into the top priority of tracks that we have, there are 4 courses in this game that I think we will guaranteed be seeing appear as retros. I'm not going to say which 4 they are right now. I'll explain the reasons for why I think each course is guaranteed when I get to it, though. And in addition to that, there are also a couple groups of courses that I think we're guaranteed to get one of, which again, I will mention when we get to them. The next priority is courses that have never appeared as a retro before. So, you know, courses like Toad's Factory, Ghost Valley 3, Mushroom City, and the like. First-time retros are typically all Nintendo has done before the Wii U DLC, so obviously those are going to be top priority, and I will also add, all 4 of the guaranteed courses fall into this category. And just as a side note for this rule, I will be using 5 Wii U Nitros, and at least 1 from the DLC. I will not, however, be using any of the courses that were introduced in the BCP. Third priority, courses that only appeared as retros in Tour, so courses like Ghost Valley 1, Lakeside Park, Shy Guy Bazaar. This rule mainly just exists so I have actual options from Super Circuit and 7, because if I didn't, the only options from those games would be Broken Pier, GBA Rainbow Road, Woohoo Loop, and Mako Woohoo, and obviously I need more than that. And for the bottom priority, this is where we change things up a little bit, because I'm going to do something Nintendo normally doesn't, and actually allow repeat retros in the base game. Only under certain circumstances, though. The only ones that I'm allowing are courses that only appeared as retros in either DS or Wii. Because for those games, it has been like 20 or 17 years since they were last playable. So in my brain, something like Moo Moo Farm or GBA Shy Guy Beach, those are fair game because they haven't been playable in ages, but a course like GBA Luigi Circuit or Ghost Valley 2, not sure why I used all the Ghost Valleys for examples, but those would not be eligible because they are also in Tour. There's also 2 other rules that I'm going to be using which don't necessarily affect the picks as much, but I still want to mention. Number 1, I will not be doing any repeat music because Nintendo seems to mostly be moving away from that, Waluigi Pinball being the exception. So, for example, if I use N64 Sherbetland, I cannot also use N64 Frappe Snowland due to them having the same music. And 2, any courses that are retros in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will not be appearing here. So if you're looking for Coconut Mall or Waluigi Pinball or Maple Treeway for the 4th time in a row, not gonna happen. I also just want to say, based on the little bit of Mario Kart 9 footage we have, it seems like this game is going to have 24 racers. And when you also take into account how large Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was, I think base game 9 is going to be fairly large. So instead of the usual, oh, it's just going to be a standard 32 course base game, 16 Nitro, 16 Retro, I think we're going to get 48. So for my picks today, I'm going to be using 6 Retro Cups. I'm still going to try to be realistic with my picks, although scaling for 6 cups is a little bit different than 4, but I think I can make it work. And again, since I'm being realistic, yes, I am going to have some fan favorites in here, but Nintendo always throws in a couple of stinkers, so I'm going to as well. But now that we have the rules established, we can finally move on to the courses themselves. Starting us off is going to be the Shell Cup, and Well, you guys know the saying.
You never start off with your best track.
Because I'm starting off the Shell Cup with DS Figure 8 Circuit. I know this course is garbage. Like, there's nothing going on here, but every course in the series deserves to return eventually, and Figure 8 Circuit they may as well just use as a throwaway Shell Cup opener. It is also one of the 3 DS tracks that has never been remade before, so that gives it a little bit higher priority, but I just don't know what Nintendo would do with this course. Like, they could maybe do something, depending on what Mario Kart 9's whole gimmick is going to be, but I'm going to be honest, I don't really have high hopes for this course if it returns. I just kind of threw it in here because might as well use a starter track. For the second spot in the Shell Cup, we're already double dipping with retros, as I'm going to be using N64 Moo Moo Farm. Surprisingly, there are not a lot of options for Shell Cup tracks that are from games that I don't have courses in this cup already from. So, yeah, may as well use Moo Moo Farm. It's a decent enough track. It's also been, 20 years since we last saw this track, and ever since Mario Kart 8, people have really taken a liking to the Moo Moo Meadows cow, so why not just throw a Moo Moo track in here again? I also just really like this course's music, and as great as the 8 Deluxe version is, who knows, maybe Mario Kart 9 can make it even better. For the third spot in the Shell Cup, I think it's time we use our first Wii U track, and Sweet Sweet Canyon, in my opinion, is probably the most likely course from the Wii U Mushroom Cup to return here. Not only does it serve as a pretty good course in what is usually considered the weakest cup in any given Mario Kart game, but I think it also just, again, serves the same functionality that it did back in Mario Kart 8 of reintroducing a couple slightly more advanced mechanics, although this time on the retro side of things. And again, this isn't accounting for whatever 9's gimmick is that they could add to this course as well. And to end off the Shell Cup, I think we all know what course needs to be here. It missed its chance twice back in Mario Kart 8. We need to give Shy Guy Bazaar its time to shine here. Scrapped from the Wii U DLC, didn't end up getting into the BCP. While I don't consider Shy Guy Bazaar to be a complete lock, I would be very surprised if we don't end up seeing it in 9. It's also one of the few actually good desert tracks, and it's also the best course in the 3DS Mushroom Cup, so I think it makes perfect sense to have it end off the Shell Cup here. And that's our Shell Cup. DS Figure 8 Circuit, N64 Moo Moo Farm, Wii U Sweet Sweet Canyon, and 3DS Shy Guy Bazaar. Starting off the Banana Cup, we're going to be using Wii U Thwomp Ruins. Now yeah, it might be a little bit strange to have 2 courses from the Wii U Mushroom Cup, but Mario Kart 7 had 3 courses from N64s, and the Wii U Mushroom Cup tracks are actually kind of complex, especially the 2 that I've chosen, so I think using these 2 is pretty fair game. Now honestly, I could see Sweet Sweet Canyon and Thwomp Ruins both working in the Banana Cup. I just chose to have Thwomp Ruins here because it comes later in the initial cup, and I think it's a little bit more complex. I also just kind of needed a 5th Wii U track, because some reshuffling I did while I was making my picks, I ended up removing a Wii U track, sorry Sunshine Airport fans, so I just thought, yeah, I'll throw Thwomp Ruins in here, it's a pretty good course. Next up, we're gonna have GBA Cheep Cheep Island. I know this course appeared kind of more towards the middle of Super Circuit's run, being in the Lightning Cup, but the layout is really simple, and assuming we go with the tour layout for this course, it's even more simple, so I think Banana or maybe even Shell Cup would fit this course just fine. Like I mentioned back in the Moo Moo Farms section, there's really not a ton of good early game options, so I figured, you know what, I'll take a kind of simpler, middle-of-the-road track, use its more simplified tour version, and just throw it in the Banana Cup. Plus, usually retro beach tracks have appeared in the earlier cups, and in fact, this course's counterpart, Shy Guy Beach, appeared in this exact same Banana 2 slot when it appeared as a retro in Wii, so I think Cheep Cheep Island here just makes sense. Third in the Banana Cup, we're going to see our second repeat retro, GCN Mario Circuit. There's a couple other courses I could have put here. There have been times where I've had Wii Mario Circuit or 3DS Mario Circuit here, but I've had to do a lot of reshuffling, specifically with the Banana Cup. Like Thwomp Ruins, I just kind of threw GCN Mario Circuit in there because I didn't have any other good options. As far as Mario Circuits are concerned, GameCube's is pretty good, and it does also come with the benefit of, at least in my opinion, the best circuit theme, but I don't really have a lot of reasoning for why I put this course here, other than I didn't really have any other options for this slot, besides, I suppose, 3DS Mario Circuit. That could go here too. It's up in the air between those two circuits. I just chose GameCube as the main one because I don't actually have a lot of GameCube tracks here, whereas 3DS I have quite a few. And to end off the Banana Cup, we're finally bringing it back. It's Wii Toad's Factory. It's still strange that of all the fan-favorite tracks that we got in the BCP, especially from Wii, Toad's Factory, nowhere to be seen. Again, I don't think Toad's Factory is a guarantee, but like Shy Guy Bazaar, I would be incredibly surprised if we don't see it, because people have been asking for this course for, well, basically, since we started getting games after Mario Kart Wii. Nintendo has to know how popular this course is. Maybe that's why they didn't add it to Tour, because a mobile game couldn't do it justice, but Mario Kart 9 definitely should be able to, so I'm hoping they give this course a massive glow-up that, realistically, is going to take an already great course even higher. I also think there's enough going on here to warrant Toad's Factory being in the Banana Cup, even if it is just a Mushroom Cup track. Heck, I actually at one point had it as the Leaf Cup opener, but that just didn't feel right, so I let it end the Banana Cup instead. I also just want to add, I was trying to be as unbiased as I could with my picks here, but Toad's Factory has the one piece of hard bias in that it is the only Wii track I am using. 11 out of the 66 retros in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe were from Wii. I think Wii fans can live with Base 9 having 1 out of 24 courses be from its game. Is Nintendo going to do just one Wii track? No, probably not, but I am. But anyways, that's the Banana Cup. Wii U Thwomp Ruins, GBA Cheep Cheep Island, GameCube Mario Circuit, and Wii Toad's Factory. Keeping the cups in their usual order, up third we have the Leaf Cup, which, pretty interesting start. I'm going to be using DS Delfino Square. Like I said earlier, there's not a lot of DS options, and even less of those are actual good options, so I think DS deserves to have at least one really good course, so I'm double dipping from Wii and picking Delfino Square. I also think it just serves as a pretty good mid-game course. Nintendo could definitely expand on this a little bit, but even if they leave it essentially the exact same as it is, it would still fit fine as the Leaf Cup opener. Although I do hope Nintendo does something fun with it, because this is probably one of the more popular DS courses that didn't make its way into 8 Deluxe, alongside Airship Fortress, so here's to hoping it gets something good. Next up, a course that maybe some people might want, SNES Mario Circuit 4. Now, I get how people feel about SNES Mario Circuits after the incident, but Bowser Castle 3 Remake really has given me hope for the future of SNES tracks, and I hope they do something with Mario Circuit 4. It's the only SNES Mario Circuit that hasn't gotten a remake yet. Even if it's just kind of okay, who knows what they could do with it. They might go all out, or they might just leave it fairly simple, because at the end of the day, it is just a circuit track. I just hope it gets something. Like, yeah, BCP Mario Circuit 3 did kind of ruin the entire archetype's reputation, but maybe Mario Circuit 4 can get a good enough remake in 9 to bring it back at least a little bit. Now it's time for another pretty popular 3DS track. Man, I really used a lot of these, didn't I? Wario Shipyard! This is a type of course that I would call simply complex. The layout is pretty basic, but there is a ton going on here. I feel like it may have been a little bit too simple for the Star Cup back in 7, but in a 6-cup system, I think it fits perfectly into the Leaf Cup. This is also another 3DS course that I'm pretty surprised didn't show up in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Although, unlike Shy Guy Bazaar, I don't think this one is I'd be surprised not to see it, as there's surprisingly a lot of Wario tracks, and if they only use one, I don't think this will be it. And to end off the Leaf Cup, I'm bringing in Wii U Shy Guy Falls. One of the better Wii U Nitros, especially when it comes to its use of anti-gravity, and from what we've seen of Mario Kart 9, it does look like anti-gravity is probably going to make a return, so what better course to bring back than one of the best uses of it? Honestly, they could even just bring back this course as a one-to-one copy of the Wii U version, and I'd be pretty happy. Granted, I hope they do something interesting to innovate on it even more, but if they leave it as it is, I'll be just fine. One thing they better do though, whatever new music arrangement this course gets, they better keep the Shy Guys in it. But there's our Leaf Cup. DS Delfino Square, SNES Mario Circuit 4, 3DS Wario Shipyard, and Wii U Shy Guy Falls. So as we reach the 4th cup, things are going to be a little bit different. Like I mentioned earlier, we're doing 6 cups here, but I'm keeping Lightning as the final one. So for the 4th and 5th cups, I'm going to steal the 2 non-crossover Wii U DLC cups, the Egg Cup and the Bell Cup, with 4th going to Egg and 5th going to Bell. Starting off the Egg Cup, we have the first course that I consider to be a guarantee, N64 Wario Stadium. Now yeah, I know this course sucks, but I think a modern remake of it could definitely do it justice. Tricking alone, I feel, would add a ton to this course, but then you factor in the fact that they can add in gliding, underwater, anti-gravity, whatever else 9 introduces. N64 Wario Stadium, as bad as the original is, has a lot of potential. We also seemingly have 24 racers now, which means that, unlike most other retros, this course may not even need to get upscaled that much because it's already massive. But the reason I think it's guaranteed is, at this point, it is the only course from Mario Kart 64 that has not been remade, and as such is the only course in the series that has not been playable in a game that has come out in the 21st century. But seeing what Nintendo did with DS Wario Stadium and GCN Waluigi Stadium in 8 Deluxe, I think N64 Wario Stadium is a shoo-in for a great remake. The one thing that I will say they need to do with this course, for sure, is give it some sort of new music, because the Raceway theme really doesn't fit it all too well unless you do something a lot different with it. Next up, another desert track that didn't make it into the BCP when it really should have. GBA Yoshi Desert. I still don't know why they went with Sunset Wilds, man. I guess Yoshi Desert at least gets a chance to shine in 9 now. And it got a really good remake in Tour, too. But you know what? If they're not going to use that model in the BCP, we may as well have it for 9. Or heck, maybe Nintendo just goes a complete different direction with the course. Who knows? Granted, this course probably could have been placed earlier in my selection because it's not all that complex, but you can't have an Egg Cup without a Yoshi track, so that's why it's here instead. Now for a course I know people have been waiting for, Mushroom City. I made a video a while back talking about all the reasons I think Mushroom City was supposed to be in the BCP but got scrapped. That is entirely a theory, but I think a lot of the things I say in there hold at least some weight. I mean, I wouldn't have made that video if I didn't believe it. But that's also why I think it's incredibly likely for 9. One of the GameCube tracks that hasn't gotten a remake yet, and supposedly maybe scrapped from the last game's DLC, I think make this a perfect choice to appear in 9, and it's a little bit of a fan favorite, so that gives it some worth as well. Would also be nice to get a traffic retro, because sometimes we get those, and we don't have one in 9 yet, so may as well throw Mushroom City in here. And to end off the Egg Cup, we have my second guaranteed pick, Tor Piranha Plant Pipeline. Guaranteed for a similar reason as N64 Wario Stadium, it is the only tour course that has never appeared as a retro yet, because it was left out of the BCP. I think this was on purpose, though. I think Nintendo realized they wanted to have some sort of tour representation in 9, but they didn't want to repeat anything from 8 Deluxe. Because Pipeline was a little bit of a strange course, they decided, alright, we'll throw Cove into the BCP and we'll save Pipeline for the next game. I will say, Pipeline was strange to place. Because it's a tour course, it doesn't have a original base game cup to go off of placement-wise, so I had to improvise. But I think end of the 4th cup fits it well enough. There's quite a bit going on here that I think the earliest I would have placed it is like the middle of the 3rd cup, so end of 4th good enough for me. And that's my Egg Cup. N64 Wario Stadium, GBA Yoshi Desert, GameCube Mushroom City, and Tour Piranha Plant Pipeline. Only course we have here that doesn't have a Wii U track, but I think Tour kind of makes up for that. Starting off the Bell Cup, another bad course, but with potential, SNES Vanilla Lake 2. Is this my pick for the worst course in Super Mario Kart? Yes, undoubtedly so. But I think they could do something interesting with it. I could definitely see them throwing an underwater section into this course somewhere, or taking inspiration from the RMX tracks. I don't see those courses returning at all, but I do see inspiration from them being used in future SNES remakes, especially when it comes to the Vanilla Lakes, because the RMX Vanilla Lakes in Tour were incredibly well done. Now, layout-wise, yeah, this is literally just a circle, but in spite of that, I feel like I had to place it later in the course selection simply because it's the penultimate SNES track. I think it has to be a little bit later, like bare minimum 4th cup. The Vanilla Lakes are also the first group that I think 1 is guaranteed from, as Vanilla Lake is the only SNES archetype that hasn't gotten a remake in a mainline Mario Kart. I could see them doing Vanilla Lake 1, at which point, yeah, it would probably be placed quite a bit earlier. I'd probably place it in like the Leaf Cup or maybe even Banana. But I chose to go with Vanilla Lake 2 because I think there's more they could do with it. Up next, I feel like I gotta do this. Super Bell Subway just fits the Bell Cup. Plus, I said I was using at least one Wii U DLC track, and I'm gonna say right now, wasn't gonna be any of the crossovers. In my opinion, those probably don't have a chance of coming back. Maybe as DLC, but I honestly don't see any of those courses returning ever. I think instead, if we get more crossovers, they would do new ones. But as for Super Bell Subway, I think it's a pretty good late-game addition. Again, kind of weird scaling-wise because it's not from one of the 4 traditional cups, but it's got enough going on, it's complex enough. I think it deserves a later spot in the selection. Using it here in the Bell Cup as now a retro track is also just kind of funny because it means that Super Bell Subway gets to now join Sky Garden in the appearing in the exact same cup as both a Nitro and a Retro club, as it was introduced in Mario Kart 8's Bell Cup. Now I have it here in 9's Bell Cup. Now we have what I consider to be the worst offender of the how did this not get into the BCP group, GBA Bowser Castle 4. Again, not a course I consider guaranteed, but at the same time, like, look at the remake this thing got in Tour. There is no way they made this big of an overhaul just for it to be stuck in a mobile game forever. Bowser Castle 4 needs to return in 9, and I'd prefer it to do so in the base game. This course is also just in a bit of a weird position, because the GBA Special Cup is the only cup in the series, obviously excluding the Wii U ones, that none of its courses have gotten a mainline remake. I think it's pretty likely we end up with 2 courses from that cup. The second one we'll see later, but For Bowser Castle 4, I'm putting it right here. Now you might be asking, why do I have it here and not in the Lightning Cup? Well, I just have a GBA track that fits the Lightning Cup much better than this, so Bell Cup it is. And there is another Bowser's Castle in the Lightning Cup, but I just figured, you know what? Mario Kart 8 took until course 95 out of 96 to get a second Bowser's Castle. I'm using 2 retro Bowser's Castles in base game 9. To end off the Bell Cup, however, we have the third course that I consider a guarantee, 3DS Maka Woohoo. Firstly, it's one of the only 2 3DS courses that has never appeared as a retro, not even in Tour, so bringing it back feels like a no-brainer, but that's not the reason I consider it a guarantee. Ever since Mario Kart Wii, there has been a pattern. The final course from the Star Cup, from 2 games prior, appears as the penultimate track in the Lightning Cup. It happened with DK Mountain, it happened with Airship Fortress, it happened with Grumble Volcano. Maka Woohoo is next in line. However, I think they're going to change the pattern, which is why I'm doing so. In both Mario Kart 7 and 8, the final course of the Star Cup has been a section track, and historically those have only appeared at either the start or the end of a cup. So I think they'll be changing the pattern from Star 4 to Lightning 3 to Star 4 becomes whatever the penultimate cup is, the final track there. Whether it's the 3rd cup or the 5th. I think Maka Woohoo is going to be the end there. It's also just nice to see the second best 3DS track return, although, unfortunately, it being here means that Woohoo Loop will now be the only 3DS track to have never been remade, due to the fact that I said I'm not doing repeat music. But hey, you know what, Woohoo Loop? We'll see you in Mario Kart 10. And that's the Bell Cup. SNES Vanilla Lake 2, Wii U Super Bell Subway, GBA Bowser Castle 4, and 3DS Maka Woohoo. Now, for the final cup. We're going to be starting off the Lightning Cup with our final repeat retro, N64 Banshee Boardwalk. Now, there are other courses that I could have put here instead, like Wario Coliseum or Dry Dry Ruins, that would have been first-time retros that made more sense, but I figured I'd go with Banshee instead because, truthfully, I think this course deserves another go, despite the other 2 being higher priority. Although, spoiler alert, for whenever I make my DLC prediction video, those 2 are both going to be in there. Banshee is also going to fill in the usual spooky retro slot, which, unless you count Wario Shipyard, I haven't actually used yet. Now, I could have done Ghost Valley 3 for that, but as much faith as I do have in future SNES remakes, I don't have enough faith to put 3 of them in base game. Plus, at least by N64 standards, Banshee Boardwalk isn't terrible. All it really needs is some musical upgrade, although the course itself could also get a bit of an update. Now it's time for our final Wii U track, Cloudtop Cruise. I think it's fitting to have a Wii U Special Cup track for the Lightning Cup here, and in my opinion, Cloudtop Cruise is the best option for that. Didn't really feel like bringing back Bone Dry Dunes that soon, and as good as Wii U Bowser Castle is, again, I don't think it's going to be coming back this soon. It's the same reason I didn't use Mario Kart Stadium when I wanted to bring back a starter track. Bringing it back in the next game just isn't the play. And as for Rainbow Road, well, I already have a different one of those lined up. Initially, I was going to have Cloudtop Cruise be the cup opener, and then Banshee into a Bowser's Castle into a Rainbow Road, but the Bowser's Castle that I'm going with is particularly ominous, so I would rather not have a spooky track right before it. Even if Cloudtop Cruise is also kind of vaguely Bowser-themed, so having it before Bowser's Castle also doesn't work. This was just, in my opinion, the best way to organize the cup. I also just kind of think the idea of this cup being complete tonal whiplash between a ominous track, a more cheerful track, an ominous Bowser's Castle, and then a more cheerful Rainbow Road is just kind of funny. Cloudtop Cruise, though, I think of the Wii U Special Cup tracks, it's definitely the first one they're going to bring back. Unless Nintendo wants to pull a curveball, which, they're Nintendo, they definitely could. I just think this is the most likely one. Now for our penultimate track, like I've said, we're using a Bowser's Castle. And specifically a 3D one, because we already have 2D covered with Bowser Castle 4 in the last cup. Now there's a lot of options here for these. The only one of these that's been remade is N64's. And the rest of them, except for Wii, are all good options. But I'm gonna go with GameCube's. Double Dash is one of the less popular Mario Kart games, but it had a really good Bowser's Castle that I think deserves a chance to shine here in 9. As much as I really wanted to use DS Bowser Castle here, especially considering the only DS courses I have so far in my picks are Figure 8 Circuit and Delfino Square, I just feel like GameCube's deserved it more. Although, spoiler alert for my DLC video again, really good chance I use DS Bowser's Castle there. Not guaranteed, but really good chance. This would also be a good Bowser's Castle to bring back because it is the origin of the giant Bowser statues. Seemingly, they've been doing those every other Mario Kart, so chances are Mario Kart 9's Bowser Castle might not have one. May as well give it to one of the retro Bowser Castles instead then. And of course, for our final track, it's gotta be a Rainbow Road. As for which one, I'm saying GBA. This is also my final guarantee course, as Nintendo's been going in order with the Rainbow Roads in the Lightning Cup. We got SNES in 7, N64 in 8, so 9's gotta give us GBA. And I think GBA deserves to come back. In my opinion, it is easily the most forgettable Rainbow Road, although Double Dash is up there too. But GBA Rainbow Road is pretty neat, has some absolutely banger music, and has some pretty cool mechanics, even if there's a good chance those won't survive the transition to a new game. I just think this course needs to get its comeback here in 9. I know there's other people out there predicting, oh, it's going to be DS or GameCube Rainbow Road, and as happy as I would be with DS Rainbow Road, because, you know, that's the third best one, I think we need to get GBA back first. And that is going to be the Lightning Cup. N64 Banshee Boardwalk, Wii U Cloudtop Cruise, GameCube Bowser's Castle, and GBA Rainbow Road. But we still have a little bit more to talk about. Let's talk about retro battle courses. Now, similar to over in the 8 Deluxe course ranking video, battle courses are a lot more loose. I don't have a ton to say about each of them, but I will say this. If we're getting 24 players in Mario Kart 9, I think they're going to go all in with battle mode. And as such, for retro battle courses alone, I'm picking 9. The one key difference in my selection criteria between regular tracks and battle courses is that I did not allow any repeats for battle courses, simply because most battle courses haven't been remade yet. So it made no sense to use repeat retros when there are so many first-time retro options. Now, a few of the courses that I picked, I just kind of picked because, I don't know, I just felt like it. Some of them don't exactly have a reason. Those being SNES Battle Course 2, GBA Battle Course 2, and DS Tart Top. I just think those three are kind of neat. Although Tart Top is technically the last DS battle course because I don't see the battle courses based on consoles returning unless they give us a Switch 2 battle map. I also feel like I had to bring back one of the Switch battle maps. I'm not bringing back the Wii U ones, those are just regular courses, but the Switch ones are pretty good. I don't really care which one, but I went with Lunar Colony. I could have also done Sweet Sweet Kingdom, considering I have Sweet Sweet Canyon in my retro course predictions, but I'd rather go with Lunar Colony. Now for the ones with proper reasons, I have 3. N64 Double Deck, Tour New York Minute B, and Tour Paris Promenade B. All having the exact same reason. Like N64 Wario Stadium and Piranha Plant Pipeline, they're the last bits of content from their games that haven't been remade yet. Double Deck, same thing as Wario Stadium, hasn't been playable in the 21st century, and New York B and Paris B, I actually think the tour maps work as battle courses sometimes, at least the way that they did those two. And it would be a shame for those to be lost to time as well. And for the final 2 battle courses, I did what I feel like I had to. Somehow, after all this time, we have not gotten a single Mario Kart Wii retro battle track yet, which sucks because those maps are awesome and they are stuck in arguably the worst battle mode in the series. So I'm bringing back 2 of them. I'm going with Funky Stadium and Block Plaza. Block Plaza also has the additional benefit of actually having been scrapped from Tour, so we could have gotten it, but we didn't. So it's here now instead. And there we have it. My retro course and battle course predictions for Mario Kart 9. I'm not going to do characters right now. I could probably make that its whole own other video, but all I'll say on that topic right now is I think the entire Mario Kart 8 Deluxe roster, minus the crossovers, is going to be getting in. And I guess we'll find out pretty soon how right or wrong I am, because Switch 2 Direct is right around the corner. Depending on when I upload this, it's anywhere between tomorrow to in an hour. And I'll be reacting to that as well, so that video should be coming out fairly soon. I promise that won't take months to do. I should be able to get that out same day as the Direct itself. And real quick, let's just throw the whole retro prediction set up onto the screen. I think I did a pretty good job with these. Predictions are nothing new for me. I did BCP predictions, and technically I have more that just didn't become videos because I didn't make them in time, but I think I did a pretty good job with these. If Mario Kart 9 is shown off and these are all the retros we get, I would be pretty happy, even with the courses that I picked that I don't necessarily like. But that's all from me for today. I wish I could have gotten this video out sooner, but as it turns out, custom tracks take a while to make when you don't know what you're doing, because I wanted to make Mario Circuit 4 to use for the footage here, and I think it turned out pretty good. It's not done yet, but what I have is pretty close to done. But with all that said, I will see you guys next time.